Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for being here. So I get to start this lecture series with someone who is athletic as I am. So I'm honored to have you here on the stage with me. I will try not to show you up. No hurdles or long jump, none of that. But thank you for being here. I know your schedule is really busy, so I thank you for being our first lecture series guest. I appreciate it. So we're going to start a little bit with somewhat of an icebreaker. It's okay, somewhat of an icebreaker. I just had to give her a couple of caveats beforehand. I said, you know, I'm from Philadelphia. I grew up in Philadelphia. And so I want you to tell us, when I say these two, which ones you like the best, okay? All right. So, Dr. J and Bugs Bunny. Dr. J.
Dr. J.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Kareem or Shaq? Oh, God. We are recording, by the way. We're recording.
UCLA. Kareem.
All right. Book or Kindle?
Book.
Book. I agree with you. Beyonce or Jay-Z?
Beyonce.
Larry Bird or Magic Johnson?
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson. There you go. Basketball or hurdles?
We go for hurdles.
And we're going to ask you to. You're going to have to participate. Oh, I was hoping you were going to say hurdles so I could pull them in. Go ahead and try that one. All right, so here's the last one. And I have a movie crush on Thor, so make sure you answer this correctly. DC Comics or Marvels?
Marvel, okay.
Who is your hero crush? Not Thor. Can't be Thor. Not Thor. I'll give you the Hulk. How about, no?
Okay.
All right. So we'll move.
For me.
Well, thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to start actually by a quote, and we were running a little bit of your video as they were walking in, of the mission of the Joyner Kersee Foundation. And I love this mission. The first sentence says, we are here to change lives of at-risk children in East St. Illinois and in communities across the U.S. So you've already had a lifetime of demonstrated passion about creating quality life for others. Where does that passion come from?
I would say my passion, probably when you grow up in an environment that presented so much love and people caring about you and always giving you positive reinforcement, that it becomes contagious to the point where I was able to learn what it means to have humility and a sense of belonging to a community that embraces you for who you are and not for what you can do. And so as a young person growing up, I always knew that I wanted to go back and I would want to volunteer, give of my time, and in hopes of trying to inspire someone else to be the best that they could become.
That is great. In that first statement, if you all haven't done so yet, please look at their website. The website is really, just so encouraging when you go out and look at the team that you put around you, as well as the students who are going to your center, and that's just heartwarming. Heartwarming. During your freshman year at UCLA, you learned and dealt with the death of your mother. And I really found interesting, and I'm glad you put it in your book, and that's a copy of her book, A Kind of Grace. And in that section where you talked about mourning, you talked about you went back to school for your freshman year. You went back to play basketball, never having really mourned the death of your mother. And you talked about at that point when you let the hurt go ahead and show itself. I think we still have a lot of students who are hesitant to show emotion, especially emotion that the world thinks is a weak emotion. Talk to our students a little bit about the importance of taking care of that part of your life and that part of your emotion.
You know, I want to believe, I believe that somehow you have to find a way to be able to express yourself without a regret. And sometimes we go through things and we don't quite understand why we are going through these challenges or unexpected different things that might occur in your life. And it's okay to be brave and to be bold, but also it's very important to deal with the inner self and allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow others to be able to embrace, and allow you to be able to lean on someone else. And just because if you're breaking down and you're allowing those emotions to overflow, is that you can suppress them. But I'm here to tell you that once that suppression is over and all of a sudden those emotions come together, you can't stop the flowing of the tears. And you have to allow that to free itself, to free you, in order for you to be able to receive, you know, if it's love, if it's support, so you can be able to receive it in a positive way that will allow you to grow as a person.
And you mentioned in there, you talked about your coach having called you and basically saying, you can stay at home, don't come back. What do you think about that?
You know, I think it's important that we never lose sight of what our goals are. And one of the biggest challenge for me as a freshman was being so far away from home and not really ready to deal with losing my mom. You know, she was my best friend in a sense. And she probably wouldn't like that because I was never on her level. But when I say a best friend, I say someone I can share things and in confidence and it wouldn't go anywhere. So for me, I talked about if I had an opportunity to go to college, and my mother didn't graduate from high school. And so the opportunity presented itself where I could go to college. And, you know, I talked about going to the Olympics, and she had no interest in it at all. She was just like, you're going to get a job and education. That's all she wanted me to do. But all of a sudden, I'm faced with the death of losing my mom, and my coaches, you know, I went back and they said they could understand if I chose to stay back. They could understand, but that was my understanding what I needed to do. And it was to find balance and to understand and deal with the reality of the situation for what it was at that time. But I still had plans, and I still had goals. And sometimes I want to say this right, you have to live for the living. You know, once an individual has gone on to a far better place, is that now is time for me to continue to live through the conversations that I had with my mom and to do the things that I believe would have made her proud. So when the option of staying home wasn't an option for me, so I didn't even allow that to become for me an excuse and an obstacle or why if I did not succeed. So I gave myself the best chance possible, was to face it, you know, head on and deal with the challenges. Because in life, we are faced with challenges, and how we deal with those challenges. It would have been easy for me to stay home, but that wasn't the choice for me.
And graduation was soon after. Also in your book, you talked about the mystery of the female athlete. And so earlier today, we got the opportunity to sit with some of our female athletes. And you talked about a section in there where when you went out to play basketball, the coach, you know, first thing they said was, well, you can cheer. And he kind of refused, kind of a little bit rebellious. I don't like that. But rebellious, and said, why would I cheer when I want to be on the court? How important is that? And I, when you look at our female athletes who are just going after it, the same barriers that may have been there when you started, hopefully they are not as prominent now. But what would be your advice to those female athletes?
My advice to the female athletes is to be all that you can be. Don't let anyone put limits onto what you can become. You have the imagination to really paint a picture that no one else can see, but you also have the work ethic to bring it to reality. And so the mystery of the female athlete is that I didn't know I was going to be a heptathlete, a world record holder, and all the other stuff that came along with it. I just got out there, I ran because I loved it, and I had great people around me to support me to reach different levels. But you have the power. You can have all the support in the world, but you have to believe that you can be the best. I don't care who it is, who you're going up against. You work hard to become the best. You study hard every night to ace a test. You have the power to change who you want to become. And it's no mystery to us. We are who we are. We're unique in our own ways, but we can be whatever we want to be as long as we're willing to put in the work, and then the results will come. And it will take time. You have to be patient and not impatient as a part when you're going through the process.
Don't y'all kind of want to say something like fight the power? Isn't that kind of work? Okay, that's my age group. Sorry about that. But that is awesome. I have a daughter as well, and the thought that she may not be able to get to do what she wants to do, first of all, she's not going to accept that, and I love that. But that hasn't always been the case with really with athletes, and I really love the fact that people are pushing to make sure that those things happen.
I agree.
So very awesome. Talking about while you were an athlete at UCLA, I heard you on one video talk about, which is amazing to me, that you would actually, and you all are probably doing the same thing, but you would practice for hours, then go to the library and study with your tutor for hours, how you were a little bit afraid in the classroom because your other athletes said your professors may be a little, I don't want to say jealous, but that may have been what I heard on the video, but they were a little concerned and harder on the athletes. How did you get through that?
Sometimes you just can't control some things that's out of your hand, and all you can do is, for me, was to follow the rules, do what I had to do, go to class, and if we were playing basketball and we had to travel, had no problem with going and asking, the professor, is there homework or different things that you needed to do, and not be ashamed of it, and because sometimes you feel embarrassed if you have to go to a tutorial and get the help. Don't be embarrassed. You need help, you better go and ask for help and go get the help, and not allow the personality of someone else to affect what you need to get the job done. Because in the end, you're still responsible for reading those chapters, getting ready for the exams, and being ready when they actually tell you got to take the exam. But sometimes if the exam fall when you're going to be traveling, you have to go in there and try to see if there is a way the professor is going to allow you to either take the exam earlier or allow you to take it on the road. But sometimes you just never knew, because athletes, sometimes you stand out, and that's why you try not to go to class in sweats. You try to go like a regular student. You sit back, don't look for preferential treatment. Do all the things that you can do so they won't hold anything against you.
I know when you're great athletes like we are, we just kind of try and sit back a little bit. So you still hold world records, which is a challenge to quite a lot of people. So you still hold these world records, and you're still doing some fabulous things. Talk to us a little bit about your longevity and how you have been able to be just so successful for so long.
When I first got involved in sports, I wasn't one of the best girls, and I started at the age of 9, and I understood the value of showing up every day and picking up on the things that the coaches was asking me at a very young age. And never realizing that one day maybe I would want to go to the Olympics, because I didn't really know a whole lot about the Olympics. And so by the time I was 9, and always being on the grass, 4th through 9th place, be on the grass and you get ribbons and all kind of colors, but 1, 2, 3 was on the podium, and they got hardware, and I'm like, I got to figure out how to get on the podium, you know, and get some hardware, you know, gold, silver, bronze. And so, no, but it took a while to get that hardware, and I like it. No, I'm just but anyway, throughout my career, it was more important for me to be consistent. I didn't have to win all the time, but be consistent. And being consistent was showing up every day in practice, doing the things that they were asking me to do, or working on different things. You know, for if I was running the hurdles and we working on pitching low, just work on pitching low, not worrying about how fast I was running, because if I learned to pitch low, then the time would come that I was looking for. And it was the same way in competing. It's like what it takes to be in the top 3. I look nationally what people are doing on the collegiate level. How can I be in the top 3? Eventually on the national level, what are the standards? How can I be in the top 3? Look in the world, what are they doing? What do I need to do to be in the top 3? And if I can consistently jump, always with like, say 685 or 690 or 670, that I knew that if I go overseas and if I'm pushed, I would jump 7 meters, or learn how to jump 7 meters in the United States, because at that time, we didn't have consistent women jumping 7 meters. So I knew if I learned how to jump 7 meters or jump over 23 feet in the United States, then that's going to put me on everyone's team. So just learning to do that and be able to perform at another higher level when I go to the next competition, because I already know if 685 or 22 feet 5 inches is going to put me on the team, but what it's going to take for me to be in a position to win. You know, it was always putting yourself in a position to win, you know, and that way, that mindset would always put me in the top competition versus put my mindset in, oh, I just want to make it. If you're just thinking like that, you're not going to make it. So that's why you got to think you're going to win, go for the win. You might come 2nd or 3rd.
But you're on the podium.
Yes.
You're on the podium.
With some hardware.
With the hardware. In that answer, it is so much. It's so much when you talk about consistency, persistence. Those are things that every student has to have in order to get there. So what drives that, though? I mean, is that just part of your makeup? Is that part of your DNA? Is that something you had to teach yourself? Because it's easy sometimes to give up. Well, after you give up the first time, it gets easier. So how did you keep pushing?
I would say when I was younger, I set my standards that if I was running, I wanted to see myself improve 1/10 of a second, or if I was jumping 1/2 of an inch. Yes, realistic measurements and realistic goals, and also celebrating the small successes. So at one time in high school, I wanted to jump over 21 feet because I looked across the nation and they were jumping. Maybe 1 or 2 girls were jumping 21 feet. So I'm like, they can jump it, I can jump it. But I never celebrated when I had a lifetime best of 20 feet 5. So I was always disappointed because I never got 21. So I had to recognize that it goes back to that consistency of, I just jumped 20 feet 5. Now what I need to jump 20 feet 8. And so for me, that's how it's always been, is, you know, see the small improvements and celebrate those, but just know that it's a celebration, but it's not the end to where I eventually want to get to. It's like, hey, I accomplished that. Now how can I do better? So it's like going back to the drawing board. How can I, what we got to do better? Not worrying about one particular person or any competition. It's that how I can become better. What is it that we need to do so I can do this better? Do I need to accelerate faster down the runway? Or do I need to do this? You know, just different things that will allow me to relax and focus on. When you go to a competition, practice is the hardest thing. And when you go into a competition, it's about executing. You can't be thinking a whole lot, because if you're thinking, you're in trouble.
So go to the Olympics. So you're winning all of these medals. What are your thoughts as you're walking up on those podiums?
You know, before I became an Olympic champion, my first Olympic Games, eons, 1984, ladies. I know y'all weren't born, but anyway. You know, in the 1900s, no. 1984, you know. But in 1984, my first Olympic Games, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to take. I was somewhat young and inexperienced, had never been injured before, and I go through the Olympic trials, set the national record, and prior to the Olympic Games, because I set the national record, they are picking me to win the gold medal. So as we're training, I ended up injuring my left hamstring. And I had never been injured before, and you know, everyone around you, they say think positive, and you try to think positive, but with my leg being heavily bandaged, in my mind, it meant something was wrong. And when I went into the Olympic Games, when I lined up for the 100-meter hurdles, I didn't think like a champion. I accelerated out, but I accelerated out of the blocks, out of the starting blocks, to the first 3 hurdles, anticipating a pain that wasn't there. And I took that same attitude through the 10 hurdles, and the same attitude going into the high jump. And my coach and my physical therapist, they were telling me to replenish my fluids, you know, eat in between the events. But the whole time, I'm pouting and I'm like mad, you know, at myself because my leg is injured and something must be wrong. So psychologically, I have convinced myself that something's wrong. And so I finished the 200 meters. I'm still doing well. The next day, the long jump, my favorite event. I don't care about the left leg, you know, because I high jump off my left, I long jump off my takeoff off my right. And I'm ready to go. And I love this event so much that because I love it so much, it betrayed me, because I ended up with 2 red marks, I mean no mark. And then on my last attempt, in order for me to continue the heptathlon, I needed to get a jump in, and I safely jumped, but I only ended up jumping 20 feet, 8 inches, and at that time I was a 22-footer. And my coach came out of the stands and reminded me that the heptathlon is the makeup of 7 events, not 1. So you need to wipe your tears, get ready, throw the javelin, and get ready to run the 800. And so I go through it, and I'm lining up for the 800, and at the same time they're announcing my brother, Al Joyner, had just won the gold medal in the triple jump. And when I crossed the finish line, you know, we embraced one another, and I was crying, but there were tears of joy for my brother, because no one had picked him to get out the finals. I mean, make the finals, let alone win the gold medal. And I said to him that, you know, these tears are tears of joy, and once I go in here and do this interview, I'm not going to allow the media to use my leg as an excuse. And that if God bless me to make the next Olympic team, that I want to be the toughest athlete out there mentally, because physically I had the ability to do it, but I doubted myself. I doubted my team. I didn't go to the start line, like I said, thinking like a champion. I looked for an excuse, and I found the excuses in each of the events that I was doing, and I missed winning the gold medal by 3 points, and that was meant to happen. And I bring that up because I had to learn from that experience in order to become one of the best athletes in the world. Okay.
Thank you.
We have plans. So that is awesome. Mindset. So mindset and making sure that this is right in order for the body to follow. So you've had a lot of people in your life, and you talk about that. What's the importance of having that village around you to help you, just like you're doing with the children in East St. Louis right now? How important is that?
It's very important to have a strong, we call it a village, but you can also call it a community. And it's all in who you would like in your community, because the company that you keep reflects sometimes the decisions and the path you're going to take. And so for me, it's always finding people that want to be successful, but understand that with success comes hard work, and there is always a ladder that you have to continue to climb. You know, you can use success loosely in a sense, but know that no matter what you're doing, that there's going to always be someone else. So you can never rest. You can never become complacent. And having people around you to help you recognize that, oh, now you won a few medals, can't nobody talk to you now. That head is awfully big. You know, be real with you, you know, and bring it back. Dial it down a notch. But also positive reinforcement, because the negativity is contagious, and it can be detrimental to where you're trying to go if you're not real cautious about who you call your friends. If a friend pick up the phone only when they need you, then you better question that friendship. And if that friend that you're talking to, every time you get off the phone, you feel drained, then you better reconsider that friendship. And never lose sight of where you want to go, not where they want to go. So you be the driver, and they can be the passenger.
I feel like we're sitting in the Boys and Girls Club. And that is important. Wow, that's important. And hopefully we all hear that and know that, because that is important, and it can drain you. So you're continuing to talk about mindset and persistence and being consistent in what you do. At the recent NCAA conference, you actually kind of gave a shout out to one of your good friends, as well as Wilma Rudolph. And I think that is so important because, particularly for women, sometimes holding each other up is not our first priority, and it should always be our first priority. Tell me about that.
You know, I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in because of the women who came before me and the opportunities that didn't exist when a Wilma Rudolph or an Alice Coachman, you know, when they were coming through, and how we as women, we talk about this sisterhood, but how we can get in positions, and how can we continue to elevate one another, you know, and allow that door to be open for many of us and not just one of us. And that dialogue around embracing, you know, one another, and recognizing that some of my peers are legends themselves. And sometimes we overlook that because they're not older, they're not younger, but there's greatness in all of us. And how can we see the beauty in all of us, as well as the diversity in all of us? And what make us diverse that beauty that make us different is what sometimes can bring us together, but also can divide us.
So we're going to add empowerment to that list. So empowerment, good deal. So if you had the opportunity to invite 3 people to dinner, who would they be and what would you serve? Now, you don't have to be the cook.
Okay, lady. I would bring Michelle Obama. We got to have Madam President and Madam C.J. Walker.
Wow. Wow. Yes. What would you cook? That depends on whether or not we accept the invitation.
We would have salads. Fruit and vegetables.
There you go.
And a workout.
Oh, I'm not coming. Y'all can go in my place. We're good. What would you ask Michelle Obama or Madam C.J. and Madam C.J. Walker?
I would say to Michelle, the former First Lady, would be more of a, just what were the challenges and also I don't want to say struggles, but being in the White House, the changes that had to occur without we as a nation knowing.
Yep.
And then Madam C.J. Walker was, how you become this millionaire during a time where it was just a struggle for people of color, but then to be a strong woman and to be able to be an entrepreneur and to do what she was able to do and really transform and change the lives of a lot of all women and men.
At a time that was double hard.
Yes.
You just talked about strong women and you hesitated to use the word struggle, but in Michelle Obama's recent book, Becoming, she asked the question that was always in the back of her mind, which was such a surprise to me, but she asked the question, am I good enough? That she would always ask herself that question. Have you ever had that thought with being the athlete that you are, the successful person that you are, have you ever had a thought like that, am I good enough?
It's not that you don't have that thought, because being the best in the eyes of others is that you see the best, but you don't see the challenges. You don't see the unwritten criticism, and it causes you to ask but not react to it, because to me the love and support that's a part of that community I talked about building is what continues to uplift me and keep me above the fray, keep me above the negativity, that allow me to say, regardless of what you might think, we're going to help and support her to know that it's not that it's good enough, it's that I'm better. But it is a time when people write and say things because I didn't look a certain way or I wear my hair a certain way, that I wasn't good enough to endorse this product, or because the event that I did, that it was too grueling and not feminine enough. But the male decathletes can be the greatest in the world and can endorse anything because of their masculinity. So who to question? Who's good enough? So in my community, I was always not good, but the best.
All right. There you go. The power within. All right, this will be my last question before I turn it over. So what's the best advice, kind of two parts. What's the best advice that you've ever received? And then what advice will you give our students today?
My advice that I would give to the students today, I'm going to do it backwards,
Okay.
is that never give up on yourselves. You know, the president here talked about empowering. You're in a position where you can change a doubter into a believer as long as you believe. And so I would encourage you to, no matter how great people say you are, that you have to still be willing to work hard and always find a way to, others might say reinvent yourself, but no, just allow yourself to continue to grow. And always recognize when someone is trying to pour love into you, be willing to accept it. Allow your vessel to be open to receive it. And then once you receive it, my challenge to you is to return and share that with someone else. And so the best advice someone gave to me was that when I was a freshman at UCLA and things weren't going well, and I called back to talk to my high school coach, who was also my age group coach, Nino Fenoy, and I told him that I thought it was best I transfer schools because I wasn't long jumping 21 feet at this great school, these quote-unquote great coaches. And he reminded me that I went to school for an education, and that changed my life.
One statement and set you in a different direction.
Yes.
Priorities. Awesome. All right, I know you all want to talk to Miss Jackie Joyner Kersee. Y'all feel free to ask me to coach you as well. But how are we going to do the questions? We're going to open the floor for questions.
Early on in an athlete's career, proper nutrition may not be a top priority. However, in order to reach peak performance and define physical balance, one must adopt a sound nutritional plan. In your experience, when did developing a proper and balanced nutritional plan become most important to you? And did you feel or notice a difference physically once this phenomenon occurred?
I think
Finding balance is very important, but also the education of it. Because sometimes we think when we're young, we can just eat and do anything and not have consequences. But understanding what's the balance in the nutritional aspect of what it is that I need to make sure that I'm putting into my body to ask my body to do the strenuous exercises or the activities that's going to cause me to cramp up because I'm not eating right, getting the Charlie horse late at night, dehydrated because I didn't want to drink water, I want some kind of flavor in it, or moody because I didn't get the proper rest, and all that goes together in trying to be the very best. Because when you want to perform at a peak level, is that you train your body to get ready, but you can do the physical part of it, but then you also got to make sure that you're feeding yourself the right nutrients, getting the rest, staying hydrated, not staying out all night, not going partying, not all of a sudden want to try some kind of alcohol drink that you ain't never tried before, and then go show up on the weekend and perform and wonder why you're breaking down. So balance is important, but you have to educate yourself. You know, if this is something that you really want to do, you're going to educate yourself and make sure that you find what works, for you and what works against you.
This is Dr. Ochia. these days, a lot of people want to say something like, I can do it, only me can do it. I want to hear from you. What role did the family play? Did you get a lot of support from family that helped you to be where you are? Family support. Can you talk about family support? Because these days, what you hear is, I can do it, I don't need anybody's help, you know? So can you talk about how much support, how supportive was the family? And was it helpful to you?
So for me, when I talk about that community is my family. And that community being honest with you, because it's so important for you to believe that you can do it in order to receive the support from your supporting cast, because they cannot want it more than I. And they can help me reach the goal that we all talked about trying to achieve. But when the work is done, I have to get out there and do the work with the support of my coaches, my family, and everyone else, because I come from a family where my mom didn't know what I was doing athletically, didn't care, you know, but my dad was like, it's okay for her to run, it's okay for her to go to this meet. And so having that balance, but then the coaches away from my real family or my family, so the respect is still there to say that you can do this. Because if I don't believe 84, the Olympic Games, they have prepared me to do everything necessary to be an Olympic champion. But I went to that line thinking something is wrong. So I had to change that mindset and allow we to get it done. So the support within that community is there, but I can't ignore it. And when I won, it wasn't me that was winning, it was we. So the support is very important, and recognizing where that support comes from.
Dr. Whitehead.
Thank you, Ms. Joyner Kersee, for coming, and thank you, President Fedrick, for organizing all of this. I was delighted to hear you'd be coming, and honored to be a participant in this. I want to tell you a little bit about some of the work that I've done with student athletes in the NCAA Division I and Division II level. I'm really interested as a psychologist in, particularly at a university, in seeing that student athletes are being nurtured by their athletic programs and not simply performing for the sake of performance, but having a well-rounded development as young adults. But that wasn't what I found when doing interviews with students, that a lot of them feel like they're just going to work. And so it's one of the most substantial and comprehensive studies that was done by a sports psychologist, where 4,000 student athletes were interviewed at the NCAA Division I level. The conclusion was as follows: I'm concerned about the direction that competitive sport appears to be headed. It bothers me when I hear athlete after athlete say that sport used to be so much fun, but it's not fun anymore. But sport is something that you're supposed to play at, right? I'm curious where play worked its way into your professional career.
Well, I would say that it's play, but then there's a time where you have to be serious, you know, and I think that from the time I was 9 years of age until the very day I retired, it was always fun, you know, and along the way I received some awards, you know, but to me, I enjoyed what I was doing. Every day I went to practice, it was hard, but I enjoyed it. I found love in what I was doing. The passion was always there, to always be willing to want to learn more from the people who was working with me. And so, yes, I play, but when it's time to perform, I didn't train for second best. My coaches, I wanted to show that the work and the time that they have invested into me is paying off. Because as an age grouper, those coaches are volunteering. They're not getting paid at all to give of their time to help someone like me and many others to reach a goal. So play is fun, but also it's how you balance your academics and your athletics. How do you prioritize? Where do the time management come in? And what are the sacrifices that you're making as a student athlete? So yes, we could point at the athletic side, but then what about the social side? What are some of the other things that you're doing that's distracting for what you need to do in the classroom and on the field or on the court? So it's finding that balance and always knowing that, yeah, play, you know, when you come to an institution, it's a two-way contract. You made a commitment to do X, Y, Z, and the institution made a commitment to support you in a way. So now I can't back out on my commitment and decide now, oh, it's a job, but why is it a job? What have I done personally to change how I look at what I'm doing? Now the demands and the responsibility, now I have to be accountable, but I don't want to be accountable. And because I have to be accountable, then now, oh, I don't like doing this anymore. So you're reneging on the contract and the agreement that you said you were going to do. So, yeah, you want to play? Go play in the sandbox. You're in the classroom, you can't play, you got to be responsible. Same way, coaches showing up every day. I want you to come out here, I want you to take this serious. But now all of a sudden, I don't feel I have to listen to you. It's disrespect on all level. But how do you find that balance? And not lose sight of, I'm on this team for a reason. Coaches are there, hired there for a reason. The same way with the professors. You come into this classroom, you come in here, I expect for you to take the notes, I expect for you to be ready for the exam, and when you don't do well on the exam, oh, I don't like that teacher anymore. But you haven't, because your social life is priority. You're partying, you're doing things, and now you're trying to find a reason to blame it on somebody else instead of looking in the mirror and saying, that's my opinion, though.
As a coach for 20 years, amen to that answer.
The audience, here we go, come back here. You come around.
Everything but say, listen up.
First, I have to say, it's such an honor to be in the room with you. I remember watching you on TV competing, and I'm just like, woo, I'm just, you know, Madam President, thank you for bringing her because, oh my God. All right. Okay, but piggybacking off of what you said and then what Dr. Whitehead said, what is your opinion about participation trophies?
Oh, okay.
Be honest.
Right. You know,
The gold medalist right here.
right. I think that I mean, I go through this, you know, with my center, and you know, when we do events and everybody want everybody to get a participant certificate, and you only showed up one day. I don't like it. I don't believe in it. I think it set us up for failure, because when you go for a job, they don't give you a participant for, you know, just showing up. So in life, you're going to have to learn how to deal with the competition. You're going to have to learn to put yourself in a position to be skillful, to be ready, and when that opportunity presents itself, then you know that, well, I didn't get that job, I'm gonna go get the next one. So we keep patting our kids on the back, saying, oh, it's good you did that, oh, and every step of the way, that's how they're gonna look for it. They're not gonna look to challenge themselves. How can I rise above? What is it that I need to do to work harder, you know, to become better, you know? And so to me, I got a whole lot of ribbons, you know, and a whole lot of heartache, And I had to learn how to get in the top 3. You know, I just think it's the same way in life. You know, you're going to go and there's going to be a whole lot of rejection. How you deal with that, how you prepare yourself. Because they're not going to give you a participant pass and say, okay, come back. Don't go on to the next one. You weren't ready. You're not what we're looking for. And that's the reality. And I know some people don't like it, but, you know, that's why they grow up and say, oh, that's not for me. I can't compete. But it's transferable, I'm telling you. Same way athletics, believe me, same way in life. Young ladies, those of you that had 8 o'clock classes in high school, is not the same on the collegiate level. Respect doesn't change. If you don't respect authority at home, then you come here, you think you're going to talk to people any kind of way, they're going to expel you. And the same way in the job world, it doesn't change. It's transferable.
Ms. Veronica, ask a question from the emotional side.
Monica Arnold, and I represent the Counseling and Disability Services, and you all have already done a really amazing job at talking about so many emotional aspects of your experience, but something came up for me as you all were talking, and it was the fact that you always were expected to perform at such a high level. And oftentimes, as women, we kind of take on this role of the superwoman, you know, where we're expected to be perfect. And we're expected to be on all the time. A lot of my students, particularly my female students, come in and that's such an issue for them, feeling that they have to be perfect in every aspect. They have to always be the best. And of course we want them to strive for the absolute highest level of greatness that they can, but then they suffer emotionally, or they suffer with a work-life balance, or they suffer with not being able to turn down. So can you give us some guidance or some advice as to some things that you did when it was time to turn off, some coping skills that you used to, you know, be Jackie and not just, you know, Olympic athlete?
I would say that sometimes the expectation is not what we put on ourselves, it's what we think the world wants. And that you can never lose, to me, sight of who you are and understand that no one is perfect, you know, and you're going to have some high moments, some low moments, but it's very important for you to find that balance. And to me, those coping skills come in really around, I take it back to your circle of friends. And all my friends are not just athletes, you know, and how we can sit down, we can have dialogue about different things. And, you know, I go and I'm not a good bowler, but I bowl, you know, just to have fun and get away from. But if I really want to get away from something but helps me to think, it is really getting out there jogging and running for real, and how I'm able to deal with different things that I might be going through, that I think is so important, that it's okay to say no, and that we have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others. And then if you want to cry, cry. Meditation work, you know, and just finding that quiet time that works for you, and disconnect. No emails, no cell phones, turn it off, you know. And young people, I know that's hard for you, girl. Y'all Snapchat, y'all doing all kind of stuff, you know. But I think that it's very important, and I think it's very important for our young people to understand that no one is perfect, and you can't live up to the expectations of others, but your own expectation. And go back to just setting those realistic goals for yourself and allow yourself to climb up that way.
I want to go with Dr. Phillips here. I think the spiritual side gets overlooked. I did a little study about sports and religion, so I know she has a great question here for you.
First of all, thank you, President Fedrick, for inviting her here. It's so awesome that she's here. Thank you for starting the lecture series. I'm going to try to be at every single one because I'm enjoying this. Thank you for coming to Southwest Georgia. More importantly, thank you for coming to ASU, the best university in the USA. Okay. My question is, I know in life you have to have a test to have a testimony. And Habakkuk tells us to write the vision and make it plain. So it's awesome, and I can tell that you've got plenty of testimonies and you've completed many, many visions. Share with us one of your spiritual experiences.
I would say it's every day I'm on a spiritual experience because God is at the center of my life, and I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in to bless others without recognizing that and knowing that where my life began and the journey that I'm continuing on, to know that losing my mom at 18 years of age and dealing with challenges and obstacles, but it was because of the conversations I had with her when I didn't think I was listening at 14 that got me through. And knowing that having a father and losing a father this year, you know, and dealing with hardship and understanding that, you know, there is a higher power. And I wake up every morning knowing and thankful that I'm able to see the day, to be able to have a conversation and recognize that I know where my blessings come from. And to continue on this journey is to know that I am not alone, even through the difficult and trying times.
Would you say that shaped your career, shaped your accomplishments? Would you say that it shaped your successes?
You know, I use the word successes from the standpoint of challenging myself, because if you say success, sometimes you think that's it, and it's not. It is a continuation of trying to become better than I am. And so in shaping my life, is not shaping my life, it is a part of my existence. So wherever I go, it is a part of me. So what you see is no facade. It is what it is. And so as I walk in this light, I know I don't walk alone. Thank you.
Let's get a student to ask the question. Student? Do we have a student over here? Here we go. Here we go.
As I throw her, come on.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Hi, my name is Taisha, and I was wondering, what would be some advice that you would give female student athletes now?
The advice I would give female student athletes now, go back to never giving up on yourself, really understanding your own existence, not try to fit into a particular mode or a particular group. And that is very important on, not just on the college circuit or any circuit. For me, I never drank or smoked. And sometimes when you go off to college and you have the freedom, and people try to encourage you to do things that you don't think no one is watching or no one's going to know about. So I would say to the female student athletes that you watch what you post on social media, because that becomes a part of your resume. If you're not a drinker or smoker, don't hang with drinkers or smokers or anyone that's doing drugs. Don't allow anybody to tell you to take this pill that's going to make you run faster, jump far. It's not going to work. Stay true to who you are.
I'll ask Dr. Nowak. From the social dimension.
Hi, I'm representing social work, and we really admire your athletic accomplishments, but even more so, we love you for coming back to the community and giving back to kids at risk and the things that you're doing in the center. And I'm wondering what you would give us, because you're talking to the village now and you're building a village where you are. What would you say to people here in Southwest Georgia that we could do to build a village around so many kids that see nothing but obstacles and don't see support systems for themselves?
I would say that I am one that believe in being positive, and it's easy to say and it's difficult to do, and that it's very important that we continue to bring diversity in and inclusion, you know, and not to leave any particular group out, you know. So for me, what I've been blessed, you know, this book here, A Kind of Grace, I created a curriculum called Winning in Life, and it's around the 5 points we talked about. So, but the 14 different principles that deal with critical thinking, you know, what is risk-taking, what do wellness look like, service, what do a community look like, that a community that I'm in that is 99% African American. And how can we as a community not let a river divide us, because most people do not know that East St. Louis is in Illinois, St. Louis is in the state of Missouri, but the Mississippi River divide. So to bring people from the Missouri side over to the Illinois side without thinking they're going to be robbed, shot, or gunned down, in trying to teach that village of people that wanted to be loved. So in your daily challenges is that diverse minds are very important when we working with our young people. So if we can instill in them to be the best, and the best is determined where they want to take it, and then how can they bring it back and continue to build on making that village as diverse as possible.
Well, do you have one more? Anyone else got another question back here? Oh, here we go.
Shree Gordon, Director of Athletics here at Albany State. You started out as a dual collegiate student athlete, and then a professional athlete. Talk about how you transitioned. You decided when you retired how to transition into what you are doing now and continue the path of success. And what were some of those transferable skills, and how did you decide on what's next? A lot of time when you deal with collegiate athletes, when they finish, and even professional athletes, that's a large part of their identity, and it's hard for them to move on to what's next. So talk about that transition for you and what was key in making that decision to pursue your passion, but those transferable skills as well to help you continue to be successful.
For me, I knew from the time I went off to school that I would come back in the community. And so I knew when I stepped on the campus of UCLA, I would want to talk to people. And the intimidation was that speaking in front of people you did not know. So speaking with the athletic director and asking, can I speak before every freshman class that's coming in, as I prepared myself. Not knowing exactly where I was going to go with it, but I knew that was something I wanted to do, and so I prepared. And as I continue on my journey of athletics, because women athletics back then weren't where they are today, and you didn't embrace the talents, and nor did you appreciate the talents of the women when I was, coming through. So I didn't know the platform that I would eventually have would even be there. But I knew I wanted to teach. I knew I wanted to have my center. And so going to college, it came much faster, a realization when I lost my mom and went back into the community and the center was closed. So I started thinking, where do the young people go? And at that time, I'm 18, 19 years of age. And then I make my first Olympic team, but knowing that I still have to go back and finish up. So I go back and I graduate and I make my other Olympic team. And making that second Olympic team, I had sponsorship dollars, so I was able to charter a plane and take 110 students to the Macy Day Parade because I was was going to be on one of the floats. But as a part of that, I also learned to network. I always talk to people about what I wanted to do in the community, and not just people, but companies and people who wanted me to do different things. It just wasn't about me. I also wanted them to support what I was trying to do in East St. Louis. And so eventually, 96, I break ground on the 37 acres that we eventually opened and built in 2000. So when I retired, it was already in place. So I would say to any student athlete that's thinking about a foundation, you have to start early. It's not when you retire. If that's your passion, that's your passion. And so for me, that was what I was doing, and what was transferable and transitional is that the relationships that you build along the way, and that one business card means something when you send a thank you note, just saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I met you at so-and-so. And that becomes a part of your Rolodex, because you can spark an interest and find out that their company also have a foundation, and they're looking to help communities like yours, like mine. So that's been a part of my life lesson, part of my journey, a part of my existence on what I wanted to do. And when I decided to retire, I retired knowing that I had given the sport all I could give it, and that my interests and my energies were being pulled in a different direction. Could I still compete out there? Yes. But did I still want to do that type of work? No. And now, I said my coach earlier, because in '84 he was my coach, but by '86 he was my husband. And so I didn't want to do all them workouts after I retired. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So I would just say plan along the way. And as young people, you change your mind a lot. But if you really true to yourself and true what you want to do, then you're going to deal with the struggles, because there will be some struggles. And that's going to test your character, and that's going to test your passion, and that would test your strength, and that would test your motives, and that would decide which direction you would go in.
All right. Great job. This has been an awesome evening. As we wrap up, I want to tell our faculty, and we have a couple of deans, at least one dean in the room, thank you all, because y'all are the ones that are always showing up to support our students as well as ASU and everything we do. So I just want to tell y'all thank you for being in the room tonight. If y'all care to stand up, please do so. Thank you all. Thank you. Can I get our student athletes to stand as well so we can recognize all of you? Thank y'all for spending the day with us, or at least part of it. And just one more time, can I get the panel here to stand up so we can make sure we know who they are, and I'm sure their sources. Yeah. And then, thank y'all. And then Cabinet, will y'all stand up for me? So when y'all need something from the President, go to one of them. Thank you. And a special thank you to Dr. Wilson for all the work that you put in to make this evening happen. Thank you. This has been a pretty fabulous night. So I want to tell you thank you, and how we are honored and humbled that you agreed to come to Southwest Georgia, to the unsinkable Albany State University. What a way to kick this off. Maya Angelou says, you know, when people show you who they are, believe them. And you have shown us that you are full of hope, you're full of perseverance, you are there for the students and all in your life. And for that, I want to tell you thank you. I've sat here and wanted to say amen a couple of times, so I'm glad I didn't. Well, I should have had the mic, so amen for all that you said, because it actually resonates with who we are here at ASU, and this family that we have, this group of people that we pull together, that we call our village. Thank you for infusing your wisdom in that tonight. So I really appreciate it. And on behalf of Albany State University, we have some paraphernalia that you can wear to class. Wear to class with our logo on it. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight and jumping off with our President's Lecture Series. I really appreciate it. And please come back. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.